my Bobcat 310 that I've owned about 5 months. I did a couple decent sized projects this summer. I've probably put about 10-15 hours on the machine since I've owned it. And it's got the original Kohler and it's underpowered. It starts hard, but it is a nice little machine. It's very effective. I went to start it the other night. It was dipping into the 30s and I was going to move it out to my shed for the winter, and it ran for a few minutes and then abruptly stopped. I spent a good hour dinking with it and finally decided, well, I'll roll it up here into my garage and this will be my winter project. So the next steps will be to repower. So shortly after I bought this machine, I changed out the hour meter since the original wasn't working any longer, and I also changed out the ammeter for a voltmeter. I had an issue in the electrical system and the battery wasn't getting charged, and so this way I can monitor just exactly how many volts is being generated in the system. I also added this toggle switch for some future lighting that I plan to add. So here's a good look at the engine compartment with the cover open, and I've already disassembled a couple things the other night when I was trying to get this started, but then I made the decision that it was a good time to repower this machine. So now it's inside for the winter, and this will be my project over the next couple of months. So I took the engine compartment cover off and the cage flips up nice. This actually is not a bad machine to work on. Everything's pretty accessible. So here's a good look at the engine compartment from up above with the cage flipped up. Everything is quite accessible, and my next step will be to pull the original Kohler motor. Okay, well, the motor is out of the machine. It actually didn't take very long. It was a pretty simple task. Now I've got the fuel tank in the lower well here that I've got some spray insulation that is holding it in place. I'm going to work on getting this out. I'm not sure if I'm going to reuse this, but I would like to clean up this well and just in general get the machine cleaned up. There's quite a bit of grease, and that'll be the next task, just getting things clean before the new motor gets placed. Here's a quick update on the Bobcat 310 project. The motor is out, the gas tank is out. You can see there's quite a bit of grease inside, so I do want to clean this up before I go back in with a new motor. You can see everything else is pretty much original, and in good working order. So I do plan to clean this up, maybe throw a little bit of white paint on some of this area here while the motor's out. So here is the original 16 horsepower Kohler. There's the mounting plate and the exhaust shroud. I wasn't completely dissatisfied with this motor. It did start hard, especially when it was cold, and it could have used a good tune-up, carburetor clean, but it was time, I felt, just to repower and move forward with a different motor. Well, after a lot of consideration, I finally landed on the 459cc Predator from Harbor Freight for my replacement motor. I did also consider the 670cc V2, which I've seen a lot of people use that for their Bobcat projects, but I just couldn't see spending $1,000 on a motor to go in this project for the few hours that I run this machine. And I felt like this would be comparable power, and I'd save a little bit of space in the engine compartment because this is a fairly small motor. One final thought on this motor: I don't know what the specs are for the stator, but I had a suspicion that it might not have enough output to keep up with the electric clutches anyway and run my battery down while operating. So this way I don't have to worry about that, and it's going to make a simple project.